Finally back to Arizona and Utah, where 9 years ago I was fascinated by the beauty of spectacular canyons, rock gorges often carved by small and big rivers, eroded jumbles of colorful cliffs, massive domes, soaring spires, stark monoliths and graceful arches. A land transformed and continued to be transformed by millions of years of erosion and by tremendous geological forces that have created strange forms and rock configurations to tickle our imagination. A land with still visible signs of ancient civilizations, when early people found in these canyons an ideal location for building homes, raising families and planting crops. Of inspiration for poets, artists, photographers, and those who seek only to recreate themselves in the solitude and splendor of its vastness. And then the more recent signs of the American West, with the Indians, cowboys, sheriffs, outlaws, gold fevers and colonial expansions, to our modern times characterized by an almost perfect tourist organization and a real effort to preserve and defend nature and the unique environment. Starting from Apache Junction, a few miles east of Phoenix, Arizona, let's follow the Apache Trail, which was created in 1905 to transport supplies to the construction site of the Roosevelt Dam. In 1892, a rich gold strike at the base of the Superstition Mountains led to the founding of Goldfield, and a boomtown was born. With hotel, boarding houses, 3 saloons, and a bordello. Today, this ghost town offers mine tours, a large exhibit of antique mining equipment, and an interesting shop making and selling ceramic magnets.
And what I do is I make these out of clay and then I let them dry. I'll run these through the slabber and make them flat so we can make a magnet out of them. Now we got a nice flat magnet, and I have a bunch of stamps that I just... Okay, and after this they dry, and then I put them in a kiln and fire them to 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I put glaze on them for different looks and colors, and they're done.
The Apache Trail climbs past the famed Superstition Mountains, named for the many legends surrounding the lost Dutchman gold mine, a mysterious gold mine allegedly found by the Dutchman Jacob Waltz, but never discovered. The 25-mile portion of Apache Trail between Tortilla Flat and Roosevelt is a narrow, winding gravel road and is not for the inexperienced drivers. The rewards are the excellent views of the Canyon Lake, the Apache Lake, and the interesting Roosevelt Dam, completed in 1910 and made with thousands of hand-hewn stones. The dam was built to control the irrigation of the region, which was traditionally difficult by the sudden and frequent flash floods of the Salt River, a river with the looks of a creek and the muscle of the Colorado. About 25 million years ago, this highland was a vast floodplain crossed by many rivers. Tall trees fell and were washed by swollen streams into the floodplain. Then they were covered by mud and volcanic ashes. Gradually, silica-rich waters deposited silica into the wood tissues. Silica then crystallized into quartz, and petrified logs were born. In the mid-1800s, US Army surveyors came to this area and reported on the painted desert and trees turned into stone. Several years later, the Petrified Forest National Monument, located in the middle of the painted desert, was created for the pleasure of our eyes.
The painted desert is very special to me because of the openness. For one, so many people can't see such open spaces like you can here, and also the beauty and the color, the variety, and also the difference. It's not like anywhere else. It's almost like you're on a different planet. It's so strange, so different from anything else you see. It's very magical in its own way.
The Hubbell Trading Post is the oldest continuously operated trading post on the Navajo Indian Reservation. In 1878, John Hubbell bought the trading post and established himself as one of the leading traders of his time. Today, members of various Indian tribes come to sell crafts, rugs, jewelry, baskets, and pottery at very inflated prices. Much safer for the wallet to travel north to the magnificent Canyon de Chelly. The canyon is a labyrinth of several canyons, which include Canyon de Chelly and Canyon del Muerto, and has been for centuries the homeland of the Navajos. At the mouth of the canyon, the rock walls are only 30 feet high, but deeper into the canyons, to the east, the walls rise dramatically to more than 1,000 feet above the floor. The cliffs rise straight up, overshadowing the streams, cottonwoods, and small farms below.
Take a moment to listen and to really feel the peacefulness of the canyon, and the rest will probably explain itself to you. It's also a form of pride to me to be able to have visitors come, friends who I make acquaintances. It is really nice to take them to what I consider our treasure and to be able to share it with them. And to say, here, this is my home.
There's 40 to 50 families that still farms in the canyon in the summertime. And they usually migrate to the top in the wintertime. So there are still people living in this park here, even though it's a national monument. But that's one thing that's unique about this area, is that the people still live in the canyon, and they still make their livelihood here in the canyon. 10, 15 years ago, you know, you've seen visitors coming, but they came in small groups. with an increase of 10% each year, there has to be concern by not only our management staff, but also the canyon residents. So, because the people that live in the canyon, this is where they make their life, you know, and this is their home. And you're actually going through people's backyard. You know. The Indian cultures are not dead. It's alive, very much alive.
In the experiences that I've had in the canyon, a lot of them are voiced in the music. It's incorporating all of the feelings that I've had, remembering the sounds, remembering the different kinds of smells and the odors and the scents of all the life that's gone on in this place.
In the canyon so many times all my life. There's always something new. It's the same canyon I go in, but I come out with this different feeling, and I come out with the feeling that I've learned something new about this canyon. I saw something different, and it's real special.
Driving northwest from Canyon de Chelly and crossing into Utah, still in Navajo territory, there is a compulsory stop at one of the most famous scenic parks of America. Monument Valley, a place where one can enjoy the experience of being surrounded by buttes, mesas, canyons, and freestanding rock formations that defy gravity. No wonder why several movies were entirely or partially filmed here, such as My Darling Clementine, The Searchers, How the West Was Won, The Trials of Billy Jack, The Legend of the Lone Ranger, and Back to the Future #3. Utah is a beautiful state with a wealth of geological formations preserved in several national parks and monuments. A looped dirt road takes to the Valley of the Gods, filled with sculptured rock formations, just like a mini monument valley. Now look at what the San Juan River has done here. This is called Goosenecks of San Juan. The distance across the goosenecks is 1 mile. The river's course covers 6 miles, and at one point the river makes a 3-mile curve around a ridge only 100 yards wide. I've never seen anything like this. The Valley of the Gods and the goosenecks of San Juan are at the foot of the Colorado Plateau. If we wish to go north from here, we must climb up the plateau, and the first view is from the Moki Dugway, 6,425 feet. The rock in the plateau is mainly sandstone, initially formed by wind-blown sand and very prone to erosion by the relentless action of water. Deep canyons were formed, like the White Canyon, and eventually natural bridges were formed by the erosive action of running water, and especially floodwaters. The Natural Bridges National Monument is an excellent example with 3 bridges. Their names derive from the Hopi Indians: Sipapu, which means the place of emergence, Kechina, or ghost dancer, and Ovechomo, rock mound. Further north lies Moab, a town overlooking the Colorado River, which was familiar to Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch and to John Wayne. This area was used as a setting for many movies, and the Duke spent many days in Moab and was used to stay at the Apache Motel.
You'll stay in a special room. This was John Wayne's room when he stayed here back in the 60s when he filmed Comancheros. And our mayor, who has a store down the street, came down one day and had his picture taken with John Wayne right in front of the door.
Moab is a starting point for many wild trips into 2 great national parks. The first one is Canyonlands. Water and gravity have been the prime architects of Canyonlands, cutting flat layers of sedimentary rock into hundreds of colorful canyons, mesas, buttes, fins, arches, and spires. At the center of Canyonlands, there are 2 great canyons, carved by the Green and the Colorado rivers. The areas share a common primitive spirit and wild desert atmosphere. Few people were familiar with these remote lands and rivers when the park was established in 1964. Only prehistoric Indians, cowboys, river explorers, and uranium prospectors had dared to enter this rugged corner of Utah. Originally a cattle trail, then a road for uranium hunters, the Schaffer Trail today is a well-traveled 4-wheel drive route that winds down to the White Rim. From here, another fantastic 100-mile trail winds throughout the park, offering trips as short as a day or longer than a week. This mysterious geological feature is called Upheaval Dome. Geologists are still debating its origin, the result of a meteorite or perhaps of tremendous volcanic forces. Those with nerves of steel can drive through the Pucker Pass down to the Colorado River. To enjoy its harmony of colors at sunset. Canyonlands is really wild America. The world's largest concentration of natural stone arches is found in Arches National Park. More than 1,000. Wind and water, extreme temperatures, and underground salt movement are responsible for the sculptured rock scenery of the park. Here, the combined erosion forces of wind and water have created a land also filled with fins, spires, pinnacles and balanced rocks. This one weighs 3,500 tons. Delicate Arch is the best known of all arches in the park. Standing at the edge of a slick rock bowl, it is 65 feet high and has an opening of 35 feet. Delicate Arch persists in his flirtatious relationship with gravity and the elements. However, like all other arches, it too will eventually surrender to the persuasive techniques of gravity, ice, and running water. To reach our next destination, we must first travel north, cross the Colorado River at Dewey Bridge, a single-lane cable suspension bridge built in 1916, then west to Green River, and then south. On the way, we find unique and enchanting rock sculptures suggesting mischievous goblins of folklore still about their secretive deeds. Goblin Valley. The antics of these goblins amid balanced rocks, spires and pedestals are limited only by our imagination. Highway 24 follows the Fremont River as it winds its way through the impressive water pocket fold of Capitol Reef National Park, which was created by the same tremendous forces that built the Colorado Plateau 65 million years ago. Miles and miles of spectacular and colorful cliffs, domes, spires, monoliths, canyons, arches, etc. It is a place where Indians hunted and farmed for more than 1,000 years, and later where Mormon pioneers settled to raise their families. One of the most popular drives is the Burr Trail that runs east of Capitol Reef, then climbs west up the Water Pocket Fold to join the Boulder Escalante Road. From here, the road winds through spectacular slick rock formations, dare to be climbed only by the braves. Soon after, we drive through the largest forest of Utah, Dixie National Forest, where the scenery is dominated by ponderosa pine trees, old volcanic craters, and beautiful lakes. Bryce Canyon includes some of Earth's most colorful rocks, which have been sculptured by erosion into pillars called hoodoos. Iron oxides give red, yellow and brown tints to the limestone, while manganese oxides lend a lavender hue. Mr. Bryce, a Mormon who grazed his cattle in the canyon, described it, "A hell of a place to lose a cow." An Indian name for the area translates as "red rocks standing like man." Before there were any Indians, the legend people lived in this place. There were of many kinds, birds, animals, lizards and such things. But they had the power to make themselves look like people. For some reason, the legend people were bad. So Coyote turned them all into rocks. You can see them in that place now, all turned into rocks. Some standing in rows, some sitting down, some holding on to others. You can see their faces with paint on them, just as they were before they became rocks. When the geologist Clarence Dutton wrote in 1880 that nothing can exceed the wondrous beauty of Zion, some refused to believe that such a place existed, just as others had scoffed at the first stories of Yellowstone. But the massive, multicolored vertical cliffs and deep canyons were real, and in 1909 Zion was added to the national park system. Zion has always been regarded as a sacred place devoted to God. From the first Indian legends about spirits living among the rock formations to the Mormon settlers who named after the Bible prominent landmarks as Angel Landing, the Great White Throne, Altar of Sacrifice, the West Temple, and the Three Patriarchs. At the canyon bottom flows the Virgin River. This small river almost single-handedly carved the profound rock gorge of Zion Canyon. It can be very rough with sudden and violent flash floods, or peaceful and gentle, surrounded by weeping rocks and emerald pools. After crossing the impressive Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel, completed in 1930, it's time to return to Phoenix, Arizona. It's time to go home. But not without stopping first at Lee's Ferry on the Colorado River, which is the starting point of boat trips down the famous Colorado Rapids.
So you want to know where we're going? We're going
Yes.
on down the Colorado River here to a place called Diamond Creek, and of course, this is the Grand Canyon on the Colorado River, and we'll be on the river for 21 days. And that's why we have so much joy. There's a group near where we're from called Discoverability, and they bring a group of handicapped people down the Colorado River on like a 10-day trip, 14-day trip. They just did that this summer. And there's a group out of Phoenix that brings handicapped kids down here, so they convince the Park Service that people of all kinds can come down here successfully, so that's a good thing.
Goodbye, Arizona and Utah. Thank you for the 2,500 miles of fantastic scenery, history, geography, and recreation. See you again, I hope.